Namaste everyone. Stories are something we all love to hear since our childhood. They always fascinate us and intrigue us. My name is Krisha Bansal and today we have with us Amita Khare, who is a professional storyteller. Amita ma'am is a performance storyteller who has conducted multiple workshops with children of all age groups as well as parents and teachers across schools, daycares and public places all over India. She has also performed at various literary festivals like the Doodle Festival for the last 5 years. Amita ma'am has been a part of the prestigious Katha Festival where she has mentored children from various schools from all across India. She has also been a judge at creative and cultural events at many reputed schools. Taking her passion further and belief in the power of storytelling, she has developed and delivered leadership programs in storytelling for both professionals and management students. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaskar, everyone. Thank you so much, Krisha, for giving such a beautiful introduction about myself. It's such a revelation. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be there on the platform of the Children's Post. It's for me also. I've been reading Children's Post for last 3-4 years. It's a beautiful, beautiful newspaper, and I'm really excited to share my ideas and my belief in the power of storytelling.
So glad to hear that, ma'am. And to start off, so could you tell us that what is storytelling and could you describe more about this profession?
Okay. See, beta, Krisha, if you talk about the dictionary or the formal definition of storytelling, it comes from two words, story and telling. So story, you understand, it is like a narrative of events or an experience or anything, or it can be, any ancient episode or some mythological story, anything it can be there. And telling, now telling, how do you tell your story? The way, I mean, in a dictionary meaning, it can be it's a narrative format where you're telling the story or you're speaking about whatever, an experience or an event or about somebody, a character, in a very interactive way, using actions and maybe some kind of drama or theatricals, so that when you are telling the story, we are talking about the story, the person or the audience or the individual in front of you is able to, imagine the whole story. So that's kind of a dictionary meaning to it. But for me, I would say it can be, it's a fun way of talking and interacting, and stories can be from anywhere and everywhere, and they have a real power which sparks our imagination. If I want telling a story, it can just, imagine your it sparks the whole thing. You're there in a different world. You're there in a world where you've not been, but listening to that story in a way that you feel, oh, I'm part of that world. You can imagine everything, and there's a sense of hope when you're listening to a story. And I believe stories have the power to, just ignite the human potential. So for me, storytelling is a very powerful tool uh, to teach, to learn, to experience, to interact with people around you, and not necessarily for children, for adults, for anyone. So for me, storytelling as a profession, if you say, it is from it is for 0 to 100 years. We all are storytellers, and from childhood till to our adulthood, to our old age, we've been telling stories. But yes, in today's contemporary world, almost, I think, even 5-10 years back, as a profession, people didn't know about storytelling. But in today's world, it's a very niche and very exclusive and a very new kind of a profession. Um, but I think I've been storytellers since ancient times, and people have been telling stories. from the Panchatantra days where Vishnu Sharma taught if you know the story, Vishnu Sharma taught all, these princes the duties of and the qualities of kingsmanship through stories. So he was a storyteller. So you can take it as a profession. Our teachers are storytellers. Our mothers are storytellers. So as a profession, yes, today, if one wants to take it, uh, stories can be told from the schools to the colleges to corporates in any format. But that is my way of story, the oral storytelling, the performance storytelling I am doing. But storytelling, even your movies, they are storyteller. It's actually a form of storytelling. The documentaries we see, the non-fiction, they are also a form of storytelling. The books we read is also a form of storytelling. It's all a way of telling a story. Okay, so I hope it. I know it's a very confusing and a mixed bag of explaining what is storytelling all about, but I'm sure थोड़ा सा तो मैंने समझा ही दिया होगा कि क्या होता है.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so like talking about your about storytelling. So how did you get into this profession and like what has been your journey till now?
Okay. So as I just mentioned before this question that I was not or we were all not aware or storytelling was not so prevalent as a profession. So of course before taking up storytelling as a professional career, I was into corporate life long time back, but it was a conscious sabbatical after having my kids. And I've been an avid reader since childhood. And now I remember, now when you've asked this question, it just came to my mind when I was in school, and you have this. Remember, you have this when the teacher is absent and there's a class, it's a free period, and then some substitute teacher comes and then
Substitution.
tells substitution, and the teacher says ki, okay, we are free, can somebody wants to come and say something or talk about or tell a story. So now I remember class 3 4 onwards, I used to just cook up some little stories and talk about it, or I used to love to relate to tell all the my grandmother stories to my friends and all. I think I started off there from school, and I was part of the drama club, and I was drama club, but not enactment. But I was the backend in writing the stories and improvising the
Hmm.
scripts and all I used to do during my school and my college days. Then you go into a corporate life, but when I had my own kids, I used to love to read to them when they were toddlers. So when the kids are toddlers, they like to hear story in a more drama form. They don't like to read it. So you enact the stories to your own children. So I
Hmm.
used to do that to my own kids, also to my friends' kids sometimes. So, but that was long time back when my own little kids were like toddlers. But when we moved to Gurgaon 6.5 years back, and my kids were studying in the heritage school, and there we got a mail just after a month we settled here that they had a curriculum based storytelling program for their junior school, and they were looking for storytellers. That got me excited. Because in Bombay, I used to take my own children to literary festival and the Kala Ghoda festival and the bookstores for them to listen to good authors and storytellers. So I said, wow, that sounds interesting. In the school itself, there's going to be storytelling. So that was a revelation for me because I was not exposed to that form till then. So I jumped onto that opportunity and I just took it as a learning experience for me. That it's a beautiful school and it's a curriculum based program, so let me learn, let me and it was a beautiful program, and I was part of it for 3 years, wherein from nursery to class 3 I learned about all the nuances of storytelling on my own through experiences, I would say. And it used to happen in the resource room in the library where there were all kinds of books. And honestly, I would say I was not exposed to so many authors and genres till then, but there were so many things around me where I learned so much, and where actually, I would say the resource room of the Heritage School was my first place and my stepping stone for storytelling. And from word to mouth and learning about other places where I could do storytelling, from heritage to, I would say, to the DPSs, to the, to the Tagore Internationals, to the Shivnadars. So one by one, I kept on visiting schools in Delhi, and then slowly to the literary festivals, to the, as you talked about the Katha festival, which I think has been one of my most beautiful experiences till now, where I have mentored children from all across India. From down south to Guwahati to Bhubaneswar to Baroda to Nagpur to you talk about all from a metro cities to the town cities, and such beautiful talent we have in our children, and there's so much of learning for me also I got from these children from all across India. So not as a storyteller, but also as a human being, as an Indian, there was so much to learn from all these children. So that's been my beautiful journey as a storyteller. Yes, and now as you talked about, I've been doing it with the management students in the corporate. So from from those 3-year-old kids to now I'm doing 250-year-olds corporates and all. So it's a short journey, 6 years for me, but then I think my more than as a profession as a storytelling, it's more of a passion for me. It gives me a lot of joy and happiness, and smile on the kids' faces when I tell my stories, or when they write the stories when I teach them creative writing and story writing. That's my price, that's my earning I get. So for me, I think storytelling happened quite later in the age. So more than a profession, it's a passion for me and I enjoy a lot. Oh, wow, Trisha, again, thank you so much for asking that question. You just made me so happy today.
You're welcome, ma'am. So you were talking about cooking up stories. So how do you
Hmm.
select and choose which stories you will tell to that person or that group?
Okay. So, as I talked about that, it's various age groups and it can be various schools or it can be different towns you visit the schools. Not every school is same and not every child is same. Yes, I choose stories from books also, from our folk tales also, uh, different genres. Because I told you I've been an avid reader, so I have a bag of stories. Of course, I always have with me. Broadly, I go prepared, understanding the level of the children. If I'm going to a school, the level of understanding they would have. I do a little bit of homework at times if it's a curriculum based, because some schools they want it at a certain level at a curriculum based. But as you talked about improvisation, once you reach there you have to understand your audience. uh, Maybe there's a base storyline. It can be from anywhere, it can be a very basic Panchatantra story to a very old folk tale, or it can be a folk tale not from India itself. It can be a Scottish folk tale also. It can be a non-fiction story of a childhood of an author also. Because for me, author is a hero. I always believe that because stories you can pick up from book, but then um, how did the author come up with these stories? It's a talent. Excuse me. So I love to talk about the authors, about their childhood, about their youth, about their profession. How did they become the author? Because I can tell the stories, but creating story is, I think, a much bigger talent. So I sometimes pick stories about the authors also when I'm because I think the children has a huge talent of writing and telling stories. So I want to ignite their creativity into them. That is also one of my passions, that how more and more children should write and create stories and tell stories. and the way they can tell them. So through my storytelling techniques, or the way I can talk about authors, if I can spark that talent in their, spark their imagination in them through writing stories, it's one of my aims when I'm telling the stories. So I pick up from there. But as you talked about improvisation, when I reach a particular school and if I understand the children, so I can change the character, the setting. I don't necessarily always go by the T of the story which has been written in the book. You can change there and then, also understanding the children and your audience. So stories I can pick up anywhere, and at times I make the children also create a story there and then.
Are there any challenges you have faced professionally?
If you talk about technical challenges, yes, Krisha, at times maybe the mic is not working, or so then I have to use complete use of my vocal cords, so it gives you a little pain in your throat. That can be one of the technical hazards. um I don't think so, because I think children, when you're telling stories to children, they are so open, and they are so they're just not judgmental. So even if there are bloopers and I forget a story, there can be times, because I'm also human, and I'm all excited and talking, and suddenly, oh, I forget something. And then I make up, I just cook up something there and then. So those bloopers can be a little challenges, because there are times you have those long sessions of 2-3 hours. So you're tired sometimes, but physically you have to be all excited, and uh, energy level has to be high all the time. So that's
Yes,
required.
definitely.
So that can be one technical, I would say not, challenges per se. If you enjoy it, it's your passion, and you're enjoying telling the stories to the children, not as a problem challenges. I think the technical challenges are the challenges you face. Other than that, no.
Hmm. Like, ma'am, you said that you've been to so many schools, taught so many children. So, like, have you ever had a fear of public speaking?
Krisha, yes, I've been to so many schools and colleges and the public platforms, and fear, I wouldn't say. Apprehension, not always. Initially, no, never. Because when I started off with a small group of children, so that's very nice and cute, interacting with small group. And for me, storytelling is a very interactive, and it has to be a connection to my audience. I want to look into their eyes, understand their emotions, what they are going through when I'm telling the
Hmm.
story. Are they thinking about something, or are they thinking about something which is happening? So when you actually look into the face of your audience, you can understand what's going into their minds. With a small group, it's quite easy to understand. But when it's a huge group, there are 300, 400 kids, and it does happen when you are visiting those big schools, and for one-off storytelling session in an auditorium, and you are on a collar mic, and you can just see the first 3-4 rows, and you're not able to see the children at the back. Are they able to listening, or no, they are not connecting? So that time, sometimes you do have your apprehension, but I found a solution for that also. So normally, when I have to do something like that, I visited the school in Agra for the first time, and I was on the stage, and there was this beautiful story I was telling about Meghalaya, a folktale from Meghalaya, and I knew the first three, four kids, children, 4 rows of the kids, they are able to hear, but the kids at the back, they're not able to relate to the story, because it was a folktale from Meghalaya. So they were like, okay, what's happening? And the mic was also not working very well. I had a handheld mic, so I couldn't express much. I had this mic and I had to adjust it all the time. So I said, forget about it. I just came down from the stage, and you have this alley in between, this between two parts of
Yes.
the auditorium. If you see the chairs, I said, let me walk around and tell my story. So I walked around. Of course, my throat was completely gone after 2 hours. But then, I could look into their eyes, I can talk to the children, I could tell them what is happening. And so, of course, there is no there's no fear, but apprehension, and uh, that feeling whether the children will listen to everything what I'm saying. For me, that is very, very important. So I try, as your question before that, the technical hazard or whatever. This is sometimes it does happen, but you try to find ways to rectify it, or with experiences, I would say you learn um, how to deal with all those situations. So, storytelling is actually just not about fear. You have to just forget about all your fears when you're telling a story, because you have to enjoy it when you're doing it.
Yes, definitely. So, talking of storytelling as a profession, could you please tell us what qualities and skills one should have to become a storyteller?
Yes, if you really want to take up storytelling as a profession, some basic skills and qualities one should have. First and foremost, love for stories. Right.
Yes.
Now, stories can be from anywhere, from the books, from you hear stories, the vocal stories. Not every story is written, so you have to gather stories from a lot of sources. Hearing to people's experiences, the history, your childhood memories, the places you visit. You can gather so many stories from everywhere. You can gather so many character traits from so many places. You know, uh, I'm giving you a small little example. When you we used to travel by train quite a bit, right? So when I used to travel in the train, I used to observe people. Everybody has a very peculiar quality. सबकी अपनी अपनी quality होती है. कुछ तो भी trait होता है. तो आप वो observe, you have to observe that, because storytelling involves a little bit of drama and modulation and voice and your facial expressions and the
Yes.
sounds you make. So you have to be really observant of the things and the people and the surroundings around you, which builds up your imagination. So when you are telling a story, you can use all those things, all those experiences you've had and the observation you've had when you're telling a story. So, of course, so that's what I'm saying. The second quality one should have is you have to be a very keen observer of things. Things in terms of people, environment, nature around you, people around you. Say, for
Yes.
example, I'm traveling down south to a school and telling a story. My story can be anything, but I have to understand my audience. I have to understand the people around me so that I can improvise. I have to observe the children or the teachers. If I'm training the teachers over there, I have to understand their thought process, their emotions, so that I can tell them the story which they can relate to and understand, and
Yes.
not understand only for enjoyment. For me, this is one thing very important which I want to say and tell is, for me, storytelling is just not about entertainment. We think storytelling is all about entertainment, right? But
Yes.
for me, of course, it is. It is. You should enjoy the story. But there is so much to learn through story. You can learn so much through, how you tell about your experiences. I'm talking about a story from Scotland, maybe a folktale from Scotland. So the way I tell that story, the way I narrate the story, Krisha should think that I'm in Scotland. The mountains are there. I'm surrounded by mountains and it's really cold over there. So I have to have that quality of telling a story in a way wherein my audience is transported to that place. They are able to learn about the social structure, the culture, the food, everything from there. I should be
Yes.
good enough in telling you all that through my story. So one can learn about geography, about society, about the economy, about people, anything through a story. So you have to be, yes, loads of stories, through reading, through whatever, a keen observer, voice. You have to be very, the voice modulation is something, and expressive, your face and everything has to be really expressive. These are some of the skills which, if somebody wants it as a profession, they can learn also. But I would say certain things are very inherent, and certain things can be learned also.
Yes.
I think we all have those skills. You just need to hone those skills and qualities to become a professional storyteller.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely. Thank you so much, ma'am. This has been such an informative session, and I really enjoyed you telling your experience about storytelling. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Krisha, for asking these questions. And I think after a long time, even I've been able to kind of self introspect about myself as a storyteller and storytelling as a profession. And quickly, let's have a fun thing, Krisha.
Yes, ma'am.
Quickly do a thing, put your hands up as a storyteller. Huh? And be happy about it, and just quickly say one line. We all should do, we all should just tell a lot of stories to each other. तो एक हिंदी में छोटी सी चीज हम करते हैं, ठीक है? सुनो कहानी,
सुनो कहानी.
ऋषा, सुनो कहानी,
सुनो कहानी.
सुनो कहानी.
पढ़ो कहानी.
So listen to loads of stories and weave loads and loads of stories, and spread the joy of listening
Storytelling.
and telling stories. Thank you so much, Krisha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.